I then wrote a book called The Devil's Bible, The Lost Tablets. And it's not a counter-religious book. It's just about what the devil would have written if he had written a book. That's hard to do, I tell you. About this time, Matthew Redcloud got a hold of me again. He said, how's our book doing? And I said, well, it's not doing too good, Matthew. He said, I want you to change the book up. I said, what do you mean to change it? He said, well, I want you to write the book as a true story. This is a true story. And I said, man, this is pretty serious stuff you're talking about. He said, well, I want you to meet the agent that we talked about. I want you to meet him. And I want you to show you where some stuff is out in Mexico. And I want you to rewrite the book and call it Roswell, The Final Contact. I want you to write it as a true story. So I did. Now, you want to know what Roswell 1's about? It's about an Apache family that had a baby in 1945. And a strange event happened to them in 1945. Another strange event happened to them in 1947. Now, these dates will all be tied together later on if you just follow me through this. 1945, Matthew was born. He died the same day he was born. He didn't know this. He was brought back to life later on that day. And in 1947, the flying saucer crashed in Roswell. Now, there's a lot to this that will be tied together, so please follow me on this. Do you remember that an Indian baby was found, or an alien baby was found in the desert that the Apaches said they had? Does anybody remember these rumors and these stories? This happened, and everybody thought it wasn't anything to it. They did find the baby. They took this baby to the Albuquerque hospital because the baby was too strange for them to handle. The baby stayed at the hospital for, I think about 2 years. This gets kind of complicated for me, so bear with me. I want to tell it right, because this is the way it was told to me. When they tested the atomic bomb in 1945, Mackie died because of the radiation from the bomb or from a ship that was observing what was happening in 1945. He didn't know this. His parents only knew that they lost consciousness and lost a few hours of their life. When they came back to life, then they of course ran to Mackie. Mackie was alive, so they know that happened. But Mackie still didn't know what happened. He was just a baby boy. Now, in 1947, when the flying saucer crashed, it actually didn't crash in Roswell, it hit the ground in Roswell. You've heard this. And it bounced over to the journey to Mars. When it bounced from Roswell over to the other location, a pod was ejected from the flying saucer. This was the baby that the Indians said they found. Now, how's this all tied together? When Mackie escapes, he doesn't escape here. Please bear with me. This is real complicated. I do not want to mess it up for you. When the government found out about the baby in Albuquerque, they came to confiscate it. They got the baby. They wanted to test it. Now, where did they take the baby? They took the baby to a hospital that was built out in the desert called Operation Hope. This was the whole problem that Roswell incident brought about that the government did not want anybody to know about. Now, when they moved the bomb from Los Alamos to the Trinity site, they moved it across country. They didn't take it down the highways. They built roads out in the desert. When they were doing this, there was a branch of the government called the National Military and Security Agency, which is no longer in existence, had control of this. They funneled money from that project to build this hospital. And you want to know why a hospital was built out here? Have you ever heard of anybody having radiation poisoning back in the 40s? Anybody ever heard of that? Didn't happen, did it? It did, because they were all taking this hospital. They had to know what would happen. Who controlled atomic energy would control the world back in those days. They knew this. That's why this hospital was built. Remember Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where all the plutonium was built? Did you hear anybody being hurt out there? You didn't hear it. They used more electricity in the city of New York did it so big. Nobody got hurt. But they did. They kept it from us. They were all taken to this hospital right in the middle of the desert called Project Hope. They did experiments on humans out there that you think was good compared to, I mean, Hitler did work, it was better than what they did to the humans in New Mexico. But they had to find out. The government took this baby to this hospital to do some tests on it. Baby checked out all right, wasn't anything wrong with it. The only thing that was wrong with it is it didn't have a belly button. They couldn't understand this. Hospital was closed up, they took it back to Albuquerque. About this time, Albuquerque needed a new hospital. This was 1960. The state paid for the hospital, but the one strange thing about it, the federal government helped pay for a basement for that hospital. The federal government wanted this baby kept in his basement. And it stayed there. In 1997. Grew up right there in that hospital. 1997 it escapes. And where is it going? It's going out in the desert. Now Matthew Red Cloud, the Indian I told you about, he started getting a strange premonition about he had to go to the desert. Something was drawing him out to the desert. He didn't know why. Something kept telling him to go out to the desert. So he left and went out to the desert. He got a sleeping bag and he said, "Mama, I'm going on a camping trip." He couldn't tell her why. He went out in the desert. He went to one location that he was drawn to, and what do you think he found up there? He found what they call Roswell 1. It looked exactly like him. It was an Indian. He had white hair. He had black hair. Exactly spitting image. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to do. He knew he was drawn out there. And this is what Roswell 1 told him. He says, when you were killed, or when you died in 1945, my race did not want to cause any trouble. They were observing what you people were doing here. We had the technology to clone another baby, which we did, and insert it back in your little cradle so your parents could raise you. You were taken to my place. In 1947, we were bringing you back. We had our accident. We had exchanged you, and I was going back to my home when the flying saucer crashed. And the little baby that was injected was me. We are identical twins. Well, what did Matt, I mean, you didn't know what to say. Here's the man telling what had happened. And they looked alike, they talked like they were identical people. Well, Mackie helped him, and he did find his way back to his people. Now, his people aren't up there. He says, we're not out there. He says, we're right here with you. We're just in another dimension. You can't see us. He says, we've always been here. And Mackie says, when did we first know about you? He said, my people have been contacting you ever since the start of time. He said, the first man that we contacted was named Ezekiel. But nobody believed him, so we don't mess with you people. He says, in my life, in my world, we have one religion. We have one political view. We have one race. We don't have the problems you people have. He says, that's why we were so interested in you when you were testing the atomic bomb. We thought you'd use it for peace, not for war. He told him a lot. He left. Now this story is true as far as I'm concerned. The people I've talked to, I don't know the Indians that lie. I met the agent that he talks about in the book, and he is one spooky person. And I believe the agent is the one that wanted this story brought out. I believe that he wanted to get this off his chest. I really do. Whether you believe it It's going to be up to you. You have to read the book. Now, there's one other thing that's happened since I wrote the book, and again, it happened in July. Mackie said, Roswell 1 said, the only time we can visit you people is in July. And if you stop to think about it, when do we go to the moon? July. When did we test the bomb? It was in July. So many things happen in July that we don't think about. And Roswell 1 said that is our best time. It's not the only time that we can actually see what you people are doing. Now, as you know, I'm from New Mexico. Roswell, New Mexico to be exact. I have some friends that are ranchers out there, personal friends. Now, I'm going to tell you a story that happened in July for them. Whether it has anything to do with this, I can't answer that. Like Ken said, I'm not into this. I'm just a writer. And some of the times, some of the things I find out makes my hair stand on end. You people can handle it, I can't. They kept finding some dead cows. They didn't have any blood in them. It looked like they'd been sitting on the desert for days. They were just all sunken in. They thought there was some cult that was taking care of these cows, sucking the blood. A personal friend of mine named Todd Ashenberry had a ranch. He says he's going to go out there and find out what's happened to these cows. He had quite a few in his corral. He got him a rifle, thermos of coffee, went out in the little shed where hay is, and he was going to wait and see if somebody comes and gets one of his cows. He sets his cup down and fills it up, takes it back and looks out the window. The cow's down on the ground. He runs out there as fast as he can. He's going to get it, right? What by there? The cow was on the ground, half of his face was peeled back, and there's no blood in the cow was gone. But it scared him to death. He takes his family and he goes to town. All these people have homes in town too. He takes them to town. And it started happening more and more. They found a baby calf that was born laying on the ground with the sack still around it. The buzzards, the vultures, nobody could get close to it. They found another one up in a cottonwood tree. I mean, front legs on a fork of the tree, up in the tree. They were scared. It happened all 1 month in July. And it quit. Now, what happened? What caused it? I don't know. You people have to figure this out. But it was in July when it happened. So, I hope you read my book. I hope you enjoy it, and whether it's true or not, you're going to have to make a decision. Thank you very much. If anybody wants a poster of the movie or the car, they're free. Or come get them, okay?
Grady, if you want to take some questions now, if you
could.
Oh,
yes.
Go ahead and tell our webcast audience that you'll take questions now.
Any questions at all?
What year was it that the cattle happened?
95, 6, about 2001. You won't hear about it. Those people don't report things like that. They handle the things themselves. And it was just a very small incident, or small. It didn't happen, but it's a month, and it quit. So what's there to report? They reported things before and nothing happened, so they just forget about it. Yes.
Is that Mackie fellow still alive?
Yes, he is.
And
He's still alive. He lives in New Mexico. The agent just passed away, I've heard. But Mackie's still alive. We'll call him Mackie Red Cloud.
Now, did Mackie and the agent become good friends in the
Yes,
end?
they did.
Yes, he was supposed to kill him, but
I'm sorry?
the agent was supposed to be killing him.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was supposed to kill Roswell 1, not Mackie.
Right.
See, but they were both the same person. But no one knew this until later on.
Has he heard from his twin or anything?
Oh no.
No?
Nothing whatsoever. That was it. Just one time.
What happened to Roswell?
He's gone. He's gone. No.
Another dimension.
No. No. Just that one time that he talked to him, and of course the agent was supposed to kill him, because with Roswell 1 gone, a hospital destroyed, there'd be no proof. And you know how the government works. They want to tie up all the loose ends. And when the National Military Security Agency was disbanded, that was their last thing, to get rid of everything that was tied. The public was, if the public would have known what they were doing at that hospital, it would have been terrible. You know that. They wanted that Roswell incident to slip out. They wanted people to keep talking about it. They did not want anybody to know about this hospital. Did you?
Yeah, this agent that you said was spooky,
Yeah.
what was it in his demeanor that made him spooky to you?
When you looked at his eyes, I met him at a place, I think it was Freeport. It was a Rockport, down on the Gulf.
Oh, yeah.
The Rockport.
There's both of
They're
them.
both
Well, it
right
was a
next
place,
to each other.
had a bunch of boats down there.
Oh,
Have you ever seen one that looked in her eyes and had that deer in the headlights stare? You just couldn't tell what they were thinking. You can't play poker with them.
Spooky.
I mean, his eyes had just burned holes through. He had a build like any rat. I mean, he was just a perfect specimen of a man. And crew cut, short hair. You could tell he'd been military all his life. He talked like military. He moved square corners. We'd sit down, and he's a perfect man. And he didn't have he wasn't a BSer, in other words. When he told you something, I think he goes back with it. And I believe that he wanted to get this off his chest. I really, really do. Because I had the feeling he'd done a lot of other things too in his life. Because he worked for what he called the National Military Security Agency. And he reported to no one except, or they reported to no one except the President of the United States. Congress had nothing to do with it. There was no voting for it. When he was told to do something, came right from the White House. And he said he worked, I don't know how many presidents he said he worked with.
Wow.
But yeah, so I had no reason. His boat, his yacht, you might say, it had enough radio equipment in it that you think it was a PT boat in World War II or a river boat in Guam. It was equipped, it was elaborately equipped. All his private stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, he sent chills up your back. Yes, sir.
Did Roswell 1 ever say to Mackey why he was, or the ETs were there or watching us, or
No.
any
No. He made comments about they have been here, they tried to help us ever since Macedonian too. He said that. He said there's some of the things that we have now is because of them. Like our number system is in hundreds, but our clock system is in 60s. Like he explained, you got 60 seconds in a minute instead of 100. And why is that? Can you answer that? I mean,
a minute and a half.
yeah, well, but it's just a minute. See, it's 60. But he said no, they don't try to contact us at all. Not since his email. He said we tried to talk to him, and he wrote about it. Nobody believed it. So they're not harmful. They don't want to hurt anybody. They're just another dimension. He explained to Matthew. He says, "You see that tree over there? There's a tree out there." And he says, "If you cover one eye up, you can see the tree. If you cover two eyes up, you can still see the tree. There's another dimension." He didn't go any further how you can see his dimension, but he said, "We're here all the time. We're not up there. We're right here." Yes, ma'am.
What? Two questions. Why did he pick the Apache child to clone? If they're another dimension, how does that work?
I'm sorry.
Why did they use a physical person for another dimension to clone?
Well, I think the reason that the cloning took place is because they inadvertently think that they caused the death of this Indian baby in 1945. And they're not a kind of race that wants to cause harm to anybody. So by this baby dying, they thought they had something to do with it, with their ship down here too, watching the atomic bomb test. it was in this dimension at that time. Maybe that's what you mean. It was in this dimension. That can come from dimension to dimension. I guess kind of like Fringe, that movie. Every time I see that, I don't understand where is this other place? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but kind of doesn't, I mean, it's like you, I don't understand how, if
No.
they're not physical, how do they get in the physical and back out again?
Way beyond me. Way beyond
Like a
me.
different frequency.
I don't know. Yes, ma'am.
Did this agent die of natural causes, or
I think-
did somebody help him along?
I think he did. The only thing I know, Mackie said that he passed away, and that's the only thing. He was getting up in his years when I talked to him. I saw him. I say in his years, he's probably in his late 60s, but those people, they have some rough times. So.
Excuse me.
Now, that's a good question, whether somebody helped him, I don't know.
Well, I thought maybe if you talked to somebody often,
Yeah.
you know, or something.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Well, with the July factor, it makes you think about the fact of our 1776, July 4th, if they inadvertently, in some manner, were capable of projecting ideas into our minds.
I can't see. I mean, it's just. I don't think my book contradicts anything that anybody has said about the Roswell incident. It doesn't say, well, this is what happened. You can take anybody's theory about Roswell, and it falls right into. I mean, there's nothing about this book that changes the way it happened. Something happened in Roswell. We know that. We'll never know what. But something did happen. And the hospital that was built out in the desert, why couldn't it have been a hospital built? It sounds perfect what the government would do, to do tests and try to find out. And you know, back in the 40s, good God, they had to find out what happened. So where would they do it? They couldn't do it anyplace else. That's why this hospital was built. How would it be any more perfect to build this as we're building this, bringing these roads across this desert to bring the bomb and the test? It's perfect. Finances, the money, everything, the equipment, it's all there. Makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
Grady, you described some pretty unique characteristics of Roswell 1. Did you mention that earlier? I didn't catch it.
He didn't have a belly button. It's the biggest thing that Mackie kept saying. And he said that when he walked, he had like he leaned backwards a little bit. And the hair, the hair was just as snowy white as it could be. Long white hair. But he had the dark eyes like an Indian and high cheekbones, but he had white hair.
There used to be an old TV series that was all about the hospital that you have described.
Oh, there was?
Yes.
Which,
And we used to watch it all the time. I can't remember the name of it. Did anybody used to watch it?
you lost me. I didn't know.
Yeah.
It might have been, I don't know.
It wasn't that long ago. Probably the late to mid-90s. Probably late to mid-90s,
No.
a TV series.
Of course, the hospital, I have an idea of where it was built. Mackie told me, you can't get to it now. It's all government land and the white sand's proving ground. No one can get in there. Has anybody ever been out in that area? You know how isolated it is, don't you? It is, I mean, it's isolated out there. That journey to Marty from Santa Fe up towards Albuquerque, it is spooky.
Desolate.
It's real spooky.
We must have not slowed down long enough to get spooked.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I think you mentioned that Roswell 1 also was telepathic, that it could read your thoughts.
Yes.
Do I remember that in the book?
Yeah. Mackie was a military advisor in Mackie said that he had the ability to know things before it actually happened. He had premonitions, and that was something that was embedded into him from all this transaction. But Roswell 1 had the ability to really understand what Mackie was going to say before he said it. You know, during the conversation, he said, "I know you want to ask me this, and don't worry about this." Before Mac even said it, he was trying to explain it to him about his race, how peaceful they were. You know, he says, "We're just not the way you people are here."
Did he ever say that there were any other people that were cloned?
No. They do everything they can not to even mess with us, so there's no reason for them to. They're going to.
Did the baby that was taken back to heal, did he ever say anything about any experiences he had in the
That
other?
was a real Mackie. See,
The real okay, so he's the one.
So no, Mackie, in his mind, he lived between 1945 and 1947 in another era.
And he remembered
They
what?
remember nothing.
Oh, nothing. Okay.
Nothing. And his parents don't remember anything. The night that he was born, the parents remember they lost contact.
Oh.
And then when they came to, he was alive. And then in 1947, the same thing happened. It was 2 years afterwards. His mother did say that she had a premonition that in 50 years' time, her son was going to do something good. She always thought, she told Mackie, in 50 years you're going to do something good. Well, it was exactly 50 years from his birth until this happened.
Wow.
50 years. Yes, yes.
So they have a policy of total non-intervention then with our
So I understand it, yes, sir. That's right.
And the only, because of the incident at Roswell is the reason all this came about.
Yes, that's exactly right. If the saucer had not crashed in the first place, there'd been no Roswell one. There'd been no Mac. I mean, it would have happened, but nobody ever known about it. See, nobody ever known it. But since it crashed, and the little baby was ejected because they were trying to save the baby, that's how it all came about. If that hadn't happened, nobody ever known about it.
Do they mention, or does he mention anything about any other groups?
No.
At all?
No, nothing whatsoever. No.
Races?
No, nothing. And in his place, he said, we just have one race.
Yeah.
He was real adamant on that. We don't have a problem, we don't have race problem, we don't have political problem. We don't have religious problems because they only have one religion. So you have to... Very simple. Yes, sir?
Well, I was going to tie my question to that. I was going to see if you might describe what race or if there were other races involved with this incident whatsoever.
Did not. No. Very simple. Remember that they didn't speak out there. He said maybe an hour tops was it. And he said the hour just seemed like he was in a dream world. He said he thought he was talking to himself. And he tried to remember everything. And he didn't want anything messed up. I don't think he did.
Before he told whoever he told the story to, did he tell anybody else?
No.
Or he just kept it to
No,
himself?
he came to me. What is it? Who's going to believe in England? When we went to Santa Fe to do this movie, they went out and tried to talk to some Indians. And every time this was brought up, Indians didn't want to talk to them. Indians have been they don't want to talk to you. They just don't tell. I can't blame them, not a bit. But they just will not talk to us about this incident at all. So whether they knew about it, I can't answer that. I don't know.
What movie?
He was Apache Mescalero.
Oh, I mean, what movie?
Oh, they were going to make a movie about this.
Oh.
And I don't know what they'd be called. They'd call Cracker Jack Kid the time they got through with it. Really? Yes.
Did he ever ask you to keep this, to yourself?
No.
Or?
No.
Oh.
No. That's why I say I believe the agent is the one that wanted to get this off his chest. Maggie didn't care. He didn't care. I mean, he had a happy life. I mean, he just doesn't care. But when he came to me the first time, I think the agent is the one that convinced him to do it. And the second time, he wanted to prove to me that he was who he was. The agent was there. So I really think it all came from this agent called Frank Snowden.
Frank Snowden.
Frank Snowden. I don't know what his real name was. That's what I use. Frank. That's what they call NOWDA in Snow. Our man. Yes, sir.
Did he reveal anything about their appearance? Do they look just like us, or?
Didn't say. Now, Roswell one said that when the saucer landed and crashed, he said they were some aliens that were taking the Project Hope. See, that was a perfect place to take anybody, anything like that, because it wasn't far from where the spaceship ended. Of course, everybody, it'd be, I mean, it's perfect. It couldn't have been any more perfect. But I don't know what they look like. Now, this is all government stuff. Who knows? But I believe he said that there were 2 or 3 in the ship, and they had a way that he could communicate with his world, more so in July than any other part of the month. And the hospital in Albuquerque was lined with lead. The basement was lined with lead. And that either.
That cost a little bit.
Oh, yeah, but the governor's paying for it.
Yeah.
The governor's paying
Yeah, we paid for it.
Yeah.
If it was lined in lead, he was in the commission, I couldn't even go back. Was it lead?
Maybe he couldn't until July.
Maybe it was, you say he lived there a long time.
He lived there, yes, till 1997, maybe the lead, I don't know. See, I can't answer this question, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I just wrote what he told me. But it does bring up a lot of questions, it really does, it really does.
What is special about July? Do you ever?
No, sir. Something about the dimensions that in July, they can communicate with us a lot easier.
It's hot, that's why.
It's hot. But it made me think about a lot of stuff in July that's happened. And anything else?
Hang in there for just a second, Grady. The Oklahoma folks just called me. They said the video's great, the audio feed is great, but they can't ask questions, so we clicked on the wrong thing here somewhere. Or need to check real quick. Might have an Oklahoma question. Who knows? It'd be different than a Texas.
I don't know about those people in Oklahoma.
Not sure you want to answer me.
I don't know about that.
Hey, they don't get to ask questions. They couldn't figure out how to turn the thing on.
Oh, all right. Mary, raise her hand.
Well, they're playing bingo too, so. Shocked off.
Who is Grady Bryant?
That's a lady you're related to by marriage.
What's her name doing up there?
She's watching you.
Oh, boy.
She's gonna have a whole critique when we get home.
Your first wife.
You gotta say, now, Brady, that's not the way you told it the first time. Grady, brother. Man, I lost my marbles here today. Let's see. Start chat. Yeah. With attendees, Mary, there you go.
There you go.
Your questions? All right, question. Did he hit the screen? Hit. They couldn't see us with the speakerphone.
Yeah, but ask the question.
Well, here's the deal, folks. We worked for a week trying to get the audio portion working for the participants, and it comes out on the other end, the audio when they're enabled. And the problem is that everybody seems to have multiple microphones and cameras and speakers in their workspace. And all that stuff feeds back through the system and creates a feedback loop. But when we mute their mic, then they can hear us just fine. There's no feedback. So that's why we're doing it this way. We'll get it figured out so that they can actually ask us the questions. We can hear them, the audio. Today we had to go with this method.
Are you guys using Skype by any chance, or what are you using?
Adobe.
Adobe?
Right. Yeah, Skype doesn't allow that. Well, it allows a lot of participants if you pay for the higher service on it. This, we can have up to 100 folks. Uh-oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Oklahoma.
Would you make contact
Hello?
with Red Cloud so he could answer some of these
Mackie,
questions?
he would.
Or
no
he's
way.
not, he
We didn't bring
just
our-
told
we
you
didn't
and
bring
that's
our
it?
No
Because
way.
we didn't think.
Can we call him?
No. I guarantee that. He doesn't care about the money, he doesn't care, he just.
Oh, I wasn't gonna pay.
No. So Maggie's the nicest person in the world, but there's no way that he would.
Well, I can see why he would just, he wanted you to tell the story.
No, I'll give him the phone. That's a good idea.
There's no way.
Come on, speaker.
Okay.
I was born in July, a long time before 47. On July the 31st, I got in just before they closed the dimension, apparently. It could explain a lot of my problems. I'm going to lay it off on that. I don't know if I can get anybody to believe it.
Mary? Maryland? Oh, okay. Just a second. I'm gonna let you ask Grady. We'll get it. We got a compromise here.
Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. It was in a town in the Gulf called
Freeport or Rockport.
No, in the book you said
Yes, sir.
Freeport.
Yes, in Texas.
You want to repeat the questions when they ask you?
How old am I? I really can't answer his age. I can tell you how old Mackie was. And Mackie's about, see, I'm 71, so he should be about 68 now. And I think the agent, of course, was older, so he's not alive now, so he would have been, if he was still alive now, he would have been close to 80 probably. Does that answer your question? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I will. Here's Ken. Here's Ken. If anybody asks a question, I have to repeat it.
Do you have any more
Yes.
questions?
Is Mackie in good health now?
Yes,
Does he
ma'am.
feel like he's going to have extended life because of his clone?
Mackie's in perfect health now. He's
Okay.
He runs a curio
Thank them
shop.
all for me, will you?
And he's perfect health, and
Okay.
he has no worries in the world.
Talk to you later.
He's not married, never been married. And he still has the premonition feelings about when people come into his curio shop, sometimes you don't know what they want before they even get there. But that's what's him, you know. It's a curio shop on the side of the road in a little town in New Mexico.
Not gonna tell us anything out there.
He's in perfect health. Like I say, he's about, I'm 71, so he's probably 68 now. He's a couple years younger than me in high
They
school.
counting that age, 45 or 47?
45, 47.
We know what 45 is.
Okay, all right.
He starts building the bomb shelter, you better look out.
Yes, sir.
So does he live on the Muscular Apache Reservation?
He did it one time.
No.
Not now, most of it. You know exactly where the reservation is. You know the little town close to it? Who?
Josie?
No, it starts with an M. Come right down to Las Cruces. What is it?
I'm just saying that's down south.
Yeah, it's down south. Yeah. Ken?
All right, if that's it for your questions. I tell you what, we have a few extra minutes because we bought some time here. Bought some extra time because of the delays that all we had in getting here for the construction. So what we'll do is we'll let Grady sit up here and sign some books for anybody who's interested. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find one of those photos that was analyzed that I mentioned to. I know a number of you arrived later after I'd already discussed a couple of sightings that we had. One was a paranormal and the other was UFO. And we'll try to put one of those magnified UFO photos up there and see if we can make out enough detail on the screen to show you that we did find a craft inside of one of these photos. Yes, sir.
Have you heard anything else about the UFOs sighted in Texas a while back?
Well, this particular case that we just received was a while back. And the gentleman took 10 photographs. 5 of them show pretty clearly. It looks like a bright torch almost, very intense flame-looking thing in the sky. The way he described it to me, the Hispanic gentleman, when he came outside, this thing was hovering right over his home. And he just felt almost like electricity hit him. And he said, I suddenly just felt this intense fear. And I looked up and there's this UFO up there. I ran in my house, got my digital camera, and came back out, and as it was speeding away, I just snapped it. Took 10 pictures. 5 of them he sent to me, and we sent them off to Marilyn and Dick Carlson, who are our photo analysts in Oklahoma. They're also the state directors there for E.P.I.C. And I told the gentleman it'd be a week before we got back to them. They looked at analyzed the photos and were so excited, they called the guy up in a couple of hours and said, looks like you snapped a real UFO. We could make out one of these pictures. And sure enough, they said to me, one of them, and if you look carefully, you can see inside this glow, which maybe is an energy field or something around this thing. You can see a structured craft. I mean, sort of a little saucer shape, and then something on the bottom, and then sort of a dome top on it. Amazing. And so, that doesn't look like any aircraft that I'm familiar with. And I've been looking at some of these photos and witness reports now for 15 years, hundreds of these photos, and I've never seen anything like it. That it's always the blur, it's too far away. Well, it doesn't look the same way in the photo that I saw it with my eyeballs. And we got in a fight with Star Telegram one time because one of their professional photographers had taken a photograph that he swore was a UFO. And when we analyzed it, it was a glint off of an aircraft. No, it was a UFO. It was a UFO. And the Star Telegram even wrote up a story about it, So, even professional photographers mistake things. And so that's 99.9% of the time, that's what happens. And so when he submitted the photos to me, I didn't have much expectation to find it. So anyway, the Carlsons were able to analyze the photo digitally, find out it was not fake Photoshops or anything like that. And so if we can't get enough clarity on the screen, then we will let you take a look at the laptop if it's any clearer at the one. But at any rate, at this point, let's give Grady a round of applause. I'm going to shut down the Adobe Connect.
You shut it down.
Okay. And thank you all